Is it time to revolt as a fan base against a terrible owner? Let's discuss with my guest next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of SouthsideShowdown.com, part of the Fansided Network, and also I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to hit the like button on today's episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already, and also follow or subscribe to the show at wherever you get your podcasts. And this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, the right state can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. So the 2024 season can best be summed up as a nightmare. That's how my guest, Billick, contributor of SouthsideSox.com, described how this terrible season went. And she also wrote a great way to protest the awful owner that I want to discuss with Di first. Then I want to get Di's take on how would you go about producing the 2024 White Sox season as a movie. And finally, with every guest I want to get her take on who the next manager will be. And Di, how can Sox fans go about showing their disdain for owner Jerry Reinsdorf and have a peaceful revolt?
Two things, Todd. Number one, I want to preface my answer with saying we shouldn't be shaming anyone or yucking anyone's yum if they decide to keep going to games or they retain their season ticket situation. Just get that out of the way. So no matter what kind of White Sox fan you are, I feel like you should do what you want to do and you should do you. As for me, I didn't go to a game this past season. And I'm personally not going to go to a game in 2025 if certain things are not done. I have the list in my head. Will it change and evolve? Yes, it will. But yeah, I feel like so I wrote a petition, and for my article with the companion petition, I just, it was the last day of game coverage of the 2024 season. I had the AI write the petition because it didn't even deserve any effort. I put a lot of effort into writing my articles and my game coverage, but the petition, it just didn't deserve it. And I think we're at 60 signatures at this point. So that's my part. I've done it.
So I did like how also if you do go to a game, you wear a bag over your head.
Yes.
And should sell the team. Is that a better way than, and then instead of booing? Because booing, you are kind of going after the players. And yes, the players are bad, but it's not their fault that the owner is dirt cheap. That's why I like the sell the team chant. What about you?
I like the sell the team chant. Okay, so this is very personal, Todd, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you ever hang out in public with a dysfunctional family?
Oh, I could give you a long list of how dysfunctional my family is. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Great. So your mom, who this is just speaking not about you or me. It's just in general. It's just a general blanket hypothetical. So let's say your mom drags you to Aldi for your once a month grocery shopping trip, which was horrible. And she's a little wasted and she's swearing at you. I feel like the players are that 10-year-old kid being dragged into Aldi by their drunk mom. We don't need to yell disparaging remarks at the poor kid. Maybe the kid is a little piece of crap. Todd, I did it.
You did it. What G rated?
Is that G? Is crap G?
Yeah,
Caca? Crap? Okay, great.
For lockdown, you can go crap, you can go damn, and you can go hell. We just can't use the other ones. And just real quick timeout. If I am very jealous of you, no offense, how some of the stuff that you wrote, because I write, on for the fan-sided site, I have to be very clean. And some of the stuff that you've written has been perfectly encapsulating some of the stuff that I think every fan would want to say. So that's why SouthsideSox.com, definitely read Dye's stuff when, it's during the season. So back to your point.
It's offensive. I go out of my way to try to uncensor myself, and Brett, our editor, is the best. And he's just the greatest. And working with him is so fun. But yeah, censoring myself now, talking about the White Sox, it is difficult. Anyway, so yeah, sell the team. Sell the team is way better than yelling at the poor kids. I mean, these are kind of, I hear the argument said like, oh no, the poor multi-million-dollar salary baseball players living their dream. Oh, I feel so bad for them. It's like, do you really have to invalidate and disparage guys who, like, we don't know what the internal situation going on in the clubhouse is. We kind of have an idea, but I mean, they're baseball players. Also, I think I wrote in that article specifically that your salary, your perception of money is really commensurate to what you're used to. And like, we live in the first world, baby. I mean, always going to be someone with more or less, and to hate on them and say they should be perfect just because they make more money than you maybe it's full of caca. It's caca, Todd.
So, I mean, and for example, too, like, I have no problem with holding players available, and I don't want to tell anybody how to fan, but it's not like they've got a bunch of Yasmani Grandals out there right now. From the reports, it sounds like all these guys are good dudes. That's why I like to sell the team chant, because they're at least trying. They tried to work as hard as they could. It's not their fault, well, somewhat fault because they're so limited, but it's not their fault that somebody thought it was a good idea to put them all together in a room, Yeah.
The thing that's weird is, like, have you ever done comedy before?
No.
Okay, so when you are just starting out in comedy and you're doing like an open mic night, people go there and they're so, like, especially in Chicago, which is a huge comedy city, people are so supportive. So we're like, you could be bombing on stage and you'll hear in the background, and it's like, that person isn't really laughing. That's a sympathy laugh, and I guess appreciate it. When you get to the big times, if you do a solo show or you're in a popular group that does a lot of stuff, people come into the theater and they sit down and they're like, "This, you better effing make me laugh, you son of a bitch." And I feel like it's fans want. It's that same thing. They want the players to prove their worth and to give them the endorphins that they're craving. Like, we all remember 2005, which was, right, 1,000 years ago, but that's what fans want again, and they get really upset. My dad is very close with me. We have a very good relationship, and we talk all the time about White Sox, maybe too much, but he is, I think, the angriest White Sox fan that I've ever met. And sometimes I'm like, man, you're being ridiculous. Like, you have the impossibly high standards. And even if they did win the World Series, you would find a lot of things to complain about. That said, I think it's hilarious listening to him complain. So I've kind of channeled that, my own inner feelings and my own inner monologue with him, just like constantly texting me all day during all the games. And I think he's had a pretty big influence on me in regard to that. Anyway, when we used to go to games, like my earliest memories, my dad, how do I explain this? Okay, I'm going to be gentle with this. My dad was extremely nice. He's an extremely nice person. He's an extremely nice person now. When my dad gets mad, I think it's funny, because he's never threatened. He's like never been a threatening person. He always, like, even if he screams, like, as a joke, I'm always like, it's good stuff. It's funny. I understand that not a lot of people have that same experience with their father or with, like, an angry man in general. And it's like, he's not really angry. It's just, he's just being funny. But like, we be like an 8-year-old going to the Comiskey with my dad, who's screaming obscenities at the players. And like, we only go to watch Frank Thomas hit dingers. And it's like, that's so fun. Those are the best memories to me. And I realize that I'm probably in the minority, but I still don't think we should be swearing at the players or screaming at the players. I think silent team is pretty appropriate. And that's the longest answer to that question that you asked.
Well, actually, you kind of, I kind of had the opposite. See, my dad was a very angry man, except for at Comiskey. Like that was my safe place. Like one of the reasons why people ask, like, how can you do this every day, for example, or why do you still love this team? The White Sox were one of the few like safe things that I ever had growing up as a child. So I find it interesting that, you kind of had the reverse, because I'm like, I never met somebody that would actually go to a White Sox game and not swear some profanities unless it was, even Cubs suck was I even would come out of my dad's mouth. That was about the meanest thing that he ever said there. So it's pretty interesting on that. All right. So we got to get to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about, so Di has got a great background in comedy and script writing and all that. I want to talk about what if there was 2024, the White Sox, the movie. Let's get our take on that next on Locked On White Sox. This episode of Locked On White Sox is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. And there's a real chance it'll be the Guardians versus, I think the Royals probably most likely will be the potential in the ALDS. And if you want to root against both and maybe take in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or go to Kansas City, get some good barbecue, use Booking.com to book your next stay. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home teams or rival stadium. No matter what team you are rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, make sure to hit the like button on today's episode and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, follow or subscribe to the show at wherever you get your podcasts, as Locked On White Sox is available at places such as Apple and Spotify. And again, I got to do some yard work tonight, over the weekend. Feel free to put on this episode and check it out. And I'm here with Di Billick of SouthsideSox.com. And Di, again, where can we find, again, all your great content?
Gosh, a lot of places. But you could go to diebillick.com to maybe find some stuff. I don't know, Todd. I'm kind of everywhere.
And you're taking the season out. You're usually on Southside Sox normally during the season, correct?
I am, but it's my off season now, and I am now focusing. It's actually a busy season for actors, commercial actors. We do a lot of holiday stuff these days, so I've been going for a lot of holiday things, and
all right, well, cool. So,
it's that time.
Yeah. So, Di, you act, you write. What would be the best genre to present the 2024 White Sox season? If, say, we were to produce a movie or a television series, something do you go documentary? Do you go comedy? Do you go horror? Do you go tragedy?
It wouldn't be a comedy because it's not funny. It's caca. It's not funny, Todd. No matter what it is, I would want John Schriffen to do the voiceover and the narration, because nothing can encapsulate how bad the season was unless it's John Schriffen talking. Todd, I hate him. I hate him. In an unreasonable amount. As a person who I do a lot of voiceover work. Pardon me. I do a lot of voiceover work for radio and TV. Are you tired of sitting on your couch and blah, whatever? Oops, you got to beat me there. I do a lot of those. I guess I have an ear for insincerity. And he just is dripping with insincerity. And I was the one at the beginning of the season, I was like, everybody, give this guy a chance. Just everyone calm down, give him a chance. You're comparing him to Benetti, who's just the best. I mean, hands down the best. I don't care what the film is. I guess documentary. I want John Schriffen to deliver the most scathing script possible, and I want him to do it in the way that he did it all year with his horribly caca commentating and announcing. And like I said, I was like, I gave him so many breaks, and I was like, guys, why are you being so hard on him? Everyone needs to relax. Okay, he's green. He'll get his footing, and then just as the season wore on, I don't know if it was a conglomeration of just how bad the season was, and then just how disingenuous he sounded. But like by the end of the season, I was having meltdowns. There was a tweet where I was like, "Shut the F up, Schriffen," and then I would retweet it. And then I would retweet it, and then I would quote tweet it, and then I would quote tweet it. And it's just amazing how intensely I felt that all year.
Yeah, no,
I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone.
Well, and I get it because, actually, this is just an idea to pitch to you, like on that. Another way to revolt against Jerry Reinsdorf is just don't listen to John Schriffen next year. Listen to Len Casper, because John is also announcing to an audience of one, because it's been clear that Jerry, on a lot of these reports, Jerry is more interested in the television broadcast. He's given a lot more notes. So almost in a lot of ways, just mute his television broadcast, correct?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, how many times, I've done that before. I've turned on AM 1000 while watching the game. It's actually great. I know this isn't the Bears, but have you ever listened to the Bears cast on AM 1000? It's amazing. I just learned this. It's so good. They're so good. Anyway, yeah, I love Len Casper. I think he's great. I have a question for you, Todd.
Okay.
So I have a foreign vehicle, and I have a vehicle guy, and he keeps telling me that he can introduce me to and set up a dinner with me and him and Steve Stone. Would you do that? Or do you think, given that you know some of my material, Steve Stone would block me in real life and then never talk to me again? Or
the way that I've seen Steve Stone interact, because I listen to 670 The Score most of the time, and you hear like when Matt Spiegel brings up a stupid question or Bernstein and that, I think he is willing to take on people that have counter points as long as it is within the confines of a conversation. I don't think he's this is just me looking at, as an observationist person, and a person that in my prior days used to run a board for broadcasters. Broadcasters, TV play-by-play and radio play-by-play, the people that I've met, they're kind of weird people, and
they are.
They deal with that. Trust me, Bob Uecker isn't as genuine as you would think. So, they can be weird. So I think he just doesn't like it when there's people that kind of interact with him on social media, because he can just get away from them. If he's, if he's getting paid, for example, like his 670 The Score hits, he'll listen to the questions. I mean, I think Matt Spiegel's asked him some questions where he's, totally slapped him down. I know Mully and Hall on that have slapped him down. So I think he'll listen. And the only thing that I give John Schriffen credit is this: he did use his one best asset, and that is he did allow Steve Stone to use, kind of be the broadcast. I learned a lot of stuff about baseball this year because he allowed Steve Stone to usually talk. That was the thing. But what I didn't like about John Schriffen, and I agree with some of the other critiques about him, is when you're supposed to talk, give me information. And he never gave us information. I don't know if you thought the same thing.
Yes, 100%. And Steve Stone is so, I love hearing him talk. I love hearing him talk about pitching. I'm not a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, all I can do is watch. And his information that he gives. Have you ever heard Jack McDowell speak about pitching?
Yeah.
I could listen to him for hours and hours. The way that he talks about mechanics and then versus now. I mean, it's so interesting. Just Schriffen has nothing interesting to say. Steve Stone, I love Steve Stone. I just don't want him to block me on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would be devastated if he blocked me on Twitter, because Steve Stone was, even though I grew up a Sox fan, he was still a big part of my childhood, because you'd run home from school if you're from Illinois, And WGN used to have always the best cartoons. They had Rescue Rangers and Tailspin. And you turn on the game, you turn it on, and you'd be like, darn it, there's a Cub game. But you'd still watch because it was the only thing on. And that's why
I didn't.
Oh, well, now
I didn't.
you're a better person than me. You're a better person than me. Although my grandpa was, here's the ironic thing. My grandpa was a hardcore Sox fan, but he believed television should be free. So once the Sox went to cable, he swore him off and he became a Cub fan. So that's how I interacted. But now I find it funny. Fast forward 40 years later, guess who's over the air? The White Sox. And you're going to have the Cubs now on cable. But
here's another personal question. Do you have a sound broadband cable or DirecTV?
I live up in Milwaukee, so I have Dish, but I do have the MLB.com TV. So I use that to watch.
Okay.
So trust me.
So the new network just announced yesterday that they're going to be on a sound. And I live in a high rise in our HOA. We pay for cable that we don't even use except for Red Zone. But we just have it now. I just turned it on before we started and before I turned it on to the Tigers game. And it's live on air. And I think that it's going to be going to different places. But it's free over the air. But do you know anyone with rabbit ears?
Yeah. And the funny thing
is... You do?
No, I don't. I was just agreeing with that. That was the biggest complaint. And one of the things that they were outlining, and I heard some of the people like, this is great, is there's 600,000 TVs in the Chicagoland area that don't have a streaming or cable service. And I'm like, that is a big deal. And I kind of get the point, but it's also like, did you guys watch social media? Nobody wants to deal with rabbit ears anymore. Nobody.
Yeah. I feel like maybe Reinsdorf is just such a dinosaur, and I'm not being ageist about that. I just mean socially, he's such a dinosaur. I mean, you're so behind on the times. You couldn't have done this when it would have counted, back when it was pertinent. What am I gonna do? Put pieces of foil on I don't even think that if I go to our local thrift store, there's no Radio Shack anymore. Where am I supposed to find rabbit ears? I don't get it. I don't know.
It's there and you can do it. It's just to get the signals that can consistently in, from what I've seen on social media, on that is it's not easy. It's not fun. And you definitely got to have no buildings in your way. So I think they underrated that. But at the same point, it can't hurt to know that if you're going to be put on a premium package, because I think they have to accept that you're going to be put on premium, you at least have a way to work around it to get some leverage to maybe get a decent deal. But, these days of these RSNs getting the money, the big money off your RSNs, they're gone. They're dead. I think the only reason why the Sox have this channel is to just make sure that they don't have to be at the beholden of, Diamond, because NBC is done with regional sports. They want to get out of it as best they can.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they've been getting out of the RSN business left and right. I think they only got one left in San Francisco, and I think they got one left in Philadelphia because of that bad deal. So
yeah, wow. Well, that's a load of caca, if I've ever heard that.
All right, so we got one more segment to go. So until the Sox lift the interim tag from Plan B, Grady, Sizemore, or hire someone else as manager, I want to get every guest take I have on the manager search. So let's discuss that with Di next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And I always say FanDuel is great for props, parlays, and futures. You can put $10. You can turn $10 into $25 if you think the Bears are going to beat the Panthers this Sunday as a 3.5-point favorite, and the over is hit at 41.5. That's going off at plus 250. You think the Bears will score first and it'll be a field goal. That is going off at plus 320. So throw $10 on that, and it could yield $32 if it hits. And there are really some good numbers right now for who will win the World Series that can help double, triple your money, and even more depending on who you pick. That's FanDuel.com. And then if picking more or less is your thing, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, and you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And Prize Picks puts its member first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Let's see, something simple is picking more or less, available in most states, and you can get your money quick. Sounds like the place I want to get my selections in. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I am your host, Todd Welter, here with my guest, SouthsideSox.com contributor, Billick. And I've asked every guest who has come on, what characteristics are you looking for in the team's next manager?
All right, listen. Let's just get this out of the way. Grady Sizemore is distractingly handsome. He shares a lot of handsome, attractive characteristics with my husband, who I'm obsessed with. He's got a good vibe. The team morale seems to have changed, but I got issues, Todd. When he smiles during post-game interviews, I'm just like, let's be realistic. What would happen if Todd, this is so complicated. Let's start from the beginning. I remember in 2003, I was eating Giordano's at freaking 64th and Pulaski, I think, the one near Midway, watching the Marlins win the World Series and Ozzy as one of the coaches. And I just remember going, man, that would be so sick to have Ozzy back. And then it happened. And the whole 2004, everything, it felt so magical. And I know 2004, it wasn't the best. We had our struggles. But you just knew, you had a feeling, right? And then 2005 happened. I'm going in reverse. I don't know if I would want Ozzy back because I don't want him to get hate. He said that he has his favorite job ever is, being on TV and talking about the White Sox. So let's scratch him. Let's talk about Sizemore. Like I said, too hot. He's too handsome. Why would he want to inherit he already inherited just interim, the worst team in the history of baseball. Who wants that? I don't want people I like to have that, except for my number one pick is Skip Schumaker, obviously. NL Manager of the Year 2023, right? He's available. He's ready to go. But why would he want that? Why would he want that? Maybe if he feels like he can turn it around. But here's the thing. How much say does he have over Chris Getz, right? Team reconstruction, team building, roster building. How much control would he have? You have Tony La Russa as a consultant still. You have Dinosaur Reinsdorf just doing whatever the hell he wants and having us buy rabbit ears at Radio Shack, which doesn't exist anymore. Do you know what I mean? What? And then I wrote some stuff down. Let's see. So the thing I wrote down about Skip Schumaker, he already had 100 last season. Does he want to do that again? Did that feel good? I don't know. Okay. Here's who I don't want. And I want to know if you agree with me on this one. I do not want to hear the name Carlos Beltran. I don't want to hear his name. I have heard rumors. Have you heard these rumors?
No, I've not.
Okay, well, apparently Carlos Beltran is in the running to be the new manager. And I think that is complete and absolute bullcrap because the caca that was the stain on his resume with the Astros, and it's like, I don't know. Just no. Those are my thoughts. I have, I have all these like, how do I say this? It's like the person that you want to take the job, you don't want to also do that to them, right? Like, you don't want to hurt them in that way. There's no way this team's going to turn it around next year or the year after that. At the very smallest distance between the White Sox and a winning record looks like 3 years. And that's without Chris Getz. And it's like all these people, like, why does Reinsdorf have such a for ex-Royals? Like,
the Royals bench coach on an episode a couple days ago, Paul Hoover, he's possibly in the running for the Marlins. And yeah, while he sounds like he'd be better than, say, Pedro Grifol, I just don't know if I want to go down that route, because the other thing is you don't have Bobby Witt Jr. and you don't to spend the money like the Royals did. So that's the other thing. I'm glad that you brought it up, because I'm tired of hearing about, well, they can just turn things around like the Royals did. No, they're not. You don't have this. Luis Robert Jr. is broken. He's broken. Yep. He's a broken man, and you're not going to spend to get the necessary pitching, nor do you want to, because you actually have young pitching. So you're not going to spend the necessary money to get the better hitting to turn things around. So I'm glad that you brought up that. Let's get rid of this Royals psyche. Totally agree with you on that.
Over it. I also have this I was thinking about it, and I was just like, where did it start to really all go wrong? And isn't it when, like, why was Ricky Renteria even let go? Like, why did it even happen? Who do you think is the devil on the shoulder making stuff happen
in terms of
making all these bad moves?
As you know, it's Jerry Reinsdorf. I mean, although I think right up until the Ricky Renteria decision, I think actually the devil was Rick Hahn, although we never knew. That's the issue. This franchise has just been so dysfunctional for years that the other thing that scares me about this is the only reason why I want, if Skip Schumaker is willing to come here, because I am a fan of him. I get it that he had the 100-loss season, but he does have the skin on the wall of getting to the playoffs, NL Manager of the Year, and he can deal with the dysfunction. So the only reason why you want Tony there is he does have the connection. So he might be the guy that could bring him in. But then I want Tony completely gone, because I don't want the shadow GM. And guess what we're going to have? The shadow.
Exactly. So exactly. Yep.
That's the biggest issue. Well, all right. That wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it covered every single day. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be back tomorrow to talk if there's any bargain free agents on teams eliminated from the playoffs that the Sox should pursue. Feel free to leave comments about my discussion with Billick of SouthsideSox.com. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X formerly Twitter, at Todd J. Dub, or at Locked On White Sox, or email me at LockedOnWhiteSox@gmail.com. And Di, where can we find, again, all your great stuff?
DieBillick.com.
And also SouthsideSox.com. She'll be back hopefully next season, because I really like reading your write-ups. I'm very jealous that you were able to actually have that unfiltered, unapologetic, and be able to basically say the bleep words that I can't say at the site I write for or on this show. So again, have a great day. Thank you, Di. And I will see you guys tomorrow.